Really wanted to come out today and really see how our team, our players would respond. To see how they could sustain, obviously a very physical day on Saturday, how they respond to a Tuesday, Monday. We did some different things in terms of our loafs from the scrimmage on Saturday. So just our overall leadership. And I think the big thing as we continue to move forward and build this football team is our players being able to demand more of themselves. Demand more, come from leadership, the mental conditioning, the physicality that's required to play this game each and every day. So, sustaining things, there's so much that goes into it. So I thought today was a good test. I thought we started slow. Finally at the end, I thought our offense played with the tempo that we needed to. But again, it's still trying to develop our style of play, our leadership, and we continue to be work in progress right now. No, very concerned about who our punt returners are. And, because there's so much. I think that's the hardest skill in sport, in football. Not only to catch a punt, but you have 10 guys running down the field to try to tackle you. And so much goes into it. That's a skill set that you have to do more than two things at once. And it really challenges your concentration levels. And we're looking for the individual who can gain one first down for the offense, get 10 yards, but also secure the football. And so much of catching punts in the special teams game is based on hidden yardage. A misjudged punt can be the difference in 10, 20, 30 yards of field position. And obviously being able to perform that skill and catch the ball under obviously demanding circumstances. So today we spent 10 minutes just trying to figure out and try to continue to evaluate who our punt returners are going to be. I couldn't tell you right now. Thank God we don't have a game tomorrow. Probably really Jacob Carter's probably been our most consistent individual, but he's out right now with an ankle sprain, so he hasn't been able to gain those reps.
Butch, when you went back and critiqued the scrimmage, did it change your assessment at all of the quarterback play in that scrimmage?
I can see them progressing. I think our quarterbacks are getting better. There's so many things that I think, the naked eye, when you watch a scrimmage, everything, obviously, all eyes are on the quarterback. But, a lot of times what people don't see is, a missed assignment by a receiver not winning at the line of scrimmage, not beating our one-on-ones, maybe a missed assignment up front in the line of scrimmage by the offensive line. We had 5 drop passes. And a drop pass in our offense is equivalent to a turnover in our offense. And those 5 drop passes were big-time drops. One was a coming-out situation that's a change of about 50 yards. Another one's in a coming-out situation that's a difference in 12 yards. So when you go back and you look, we were very close, but we didn't execute offensively the way we want. And I've warned our defense is that there's a couple of times where it was a tackle for loss, but one communication flaw and breakdown by the offense, if we get that communication going, it could be a big play for the offense rather than a tackle for loss. And those are the things you try to point out. I thought being able to come back Monday and really watch the film and really teach them. And with this football team, everything is a teaching opportunity.
Coach, when you look at the quarterback battle, what's happening at wide receiver with so many injuries, it seems like Nathan Peterman's having to throw to more and more walk-ons. Is it tough to evaluate what Nathan is doing with the twos right now as far as in the passing game?
It is challenging. If you have any eligibility, we'll ask you to practice on Thursday. But it is challenging. And that's why today we mixed it up. We let Nate take a couple repetitions with the ones. But it is what it is. It's a situation. Today I believe we had, Paul Harris new. Jacob Carter's been out. Vincent Dallas has been out. We expect to have Vincent back, on Thursday. But it's very challenging because so much I've said it of the throw game is rhythm, spacing, and timing, and developing trust. And, receivers speak through nonverbal communication of when they're coming out of their breaks. And that's formed over repetitions and time. And right now that's been a great challenge for all of our quarterbacks.
Coach, do they handle the noise and the distractions the way you want to see on both sides of the ball this morning?
I'll be able to assess more on film, but again, that continues to be a work in progress. And, it may be corny, but it is what it is. It's being able to focus and X out everything. And, playing obviously in the SEC and having to play at Oregon, Some people have described it as the loudest venue in all of college football. You have to learn to sort those distractions out. You have to focus on your communicative skills, your nonverbal communicative skills, and your command presence. So we'll continue to grow as spring ball progresses in using that.
I guess how long were you going to sit on that before, making sure everything's kind of implemented in before throwing that at them?
That's exactly right. I wanted to make sure we had a foundation and a basis, and now we'll evolve more into that. And obviously it'll be a staple in training camp, but I also like to do it when they're not expecting it. And I just felt we had to get, it's practice 10. That's why we came out and we did a live two-point play segment. And our defense has to understand, in order to play great defense, the mental effort, the mental intensity, the energy that it takes, you have to bring it every practice, every day. You got to live that way. And, just like toughness, you got to live it every day. You don't learn how to swim without getting in the pool. And it's that mental intensity. I keep saying it, but it really is. Our defense didn't have the same effort, the same energy that they had on Saturday. And it showed in our last team period. They got beat 18-4. You can't have that to be a great defense. You play great defense by playing with a high level of consistency in everything that you do.
Would you decide which sounds you would use for the distractions?
Yeah. That's kind of materialized over time. We went from music, and we'll mix it up, but I like annoying noises. I like something that really focuses you.
The baby crying was really effective.
That was a C- though. We'll tune it up a little bit on Thursday. So.
Butch, on your defensive line, are you satisfied with the depth, or not satisfied, but are you seeing some signs that you're building some depth there?
Work in progress. We still have individuals that need to step up, and again, there has to be a sense of urgency. How do you respond? Now you're sore. Now you're tired. Now you're getting in and you're getting 3 and 4 treatments a day. You're winning in the classroom. And then you're playing with the effort, the energy, the physicality that we expect and demand in our football program. So it is challenging, but this is when you really get forward and move forward. And this is when you improve and get better right now. And you can see some individuals will really, really improve, and some individuals will step back. And it's all mental conditioning. It's being able to persevere and like we talked about, playing in the SEC, the team who's in great condition, the team that can manage their adversities and persevere in the month of November is usually the team that wins the conference championship.
Coach, specifically, are Salisbury and Danny O'Brien?
Work in progress. I see them making strides, but not where we need to perform. And that's the thing is we call it power of the position. No matter who's playing, the standard and expectation doesn't change in those position groups. So if Jacquez Smith is out, if Dan McCullers out, and the next man in, that same expectation is by that position. It's power of the position. That's why those individuals across the board, not just in the defensive line, have to continue to step up and get better.
Coach, it looked just to the naked eye like they got the better of the offensive front the other day. Is that surprising to given the experience that you bring back on that side of the
No, our offensive line plays exceptionally high. And that's something that we have to do a better job, and they're doing a better job of it. But also there is a number of misreads by our backs. So a lot of times, our backs are bouncing the ball outside when really they have to take their run reads, lower their pad level, and get 3 or 4 yards. And it's like I told our backs, sometimes a 1-yard gain may be the best run you have of the scrimmage because you had to lower your pads, and we can't have TFLs. We can't have negative yardage football plays when we run the football. So not only, at times it was the offensive line, but I think it was a team effort. It was the back sometimes. It was the tight ends with a missed assignment. One time it's 3rd and 2, and the tight end has to cut the backside edge off, and he has a mental error, and he goes front side, and it's a tackle for loss when really it should have been a 4 or 5 yard gain and a first down.
Speaking of TFLs, you said in your radio show you noticed with AJ a lot of his tackles last year were a few yards downfield. What have y'all challenged him in terms of what y'all want to see from him this coming season?
Playing with his eyes, being extremely disciplined, understanding his reads, and winning the junction point. Winning being able to get off blocks. Playing great linebacker or having great linebacker play is playing instinctual and making people right when they're wrong. and the ability to make plays and having great discipline with your eyes. You play with your eyes, but the ability to get off blocks, that's what separates the guys that play at the next level, is the ability to win the junction point and get off blocks.
Which is Alex Boyd. I think he's played at 4 different offensive line positions. Just how valuable is it to have a guy that's had experience?
Alex done a great job. Alex is one of those individuals who just comes to work every day. He doesn't care where he plays. He loves football, and he continues to get better and better and progress.
What's that battle like between him and Marcus Jackson as you try and find the left guard there?
It's been really healthy. You know, competition is healthy, and I think they're pushing each other. And obviously but also we're developing depth now. You know, we're developing number 6. You know, I think that's important. So that's why competition across the board is extremely healthy for your entire football team.
With AJ, are there any plans to use him on offense the way it was used last year?
Step by step. You know, right now we want him focusing on defense, which is his job. I know he likes scoring touchdowns. He's already told me that. But the big thing is really learning how to play winning football at the linebacker position and all the things that go into it. And I tell you what, in about the last week, I've seen him really respond, not only on the field but off the field, and the intangibles and the leadership that we expect from our linebackers.
Butch, what have you seen from Justin Coleman kind of this spring at corner? What's he kind of doing and how is he progressing?
You know, Justin Coleman's a quiet individual, and a lot of times it's great if you're not being noticed at corner, because that means, you know, you're doing a good job. Again, I think just the overall fundamentals and discipline of our eyes, our eye discipline. You know, today he gave up a deep ball and he was peeking in the backfield. And again, those are all great teaching points, but we're going to need him to really step up. I would like to see him